minute I walked on that stage and put that hat on, my life changed. You got to answer all the questions now for the family. You didn't even want me to. You didn't even want to bring the question up to me. Played almost 2 decades in the NBA. I got to sacrifice family. Like it's the ultimate sacrifice. The empowerment of the athlete started to shift. For so long, the aura around the athlete was just to shut up and dribble.
Was a quote, and it was from LeBron and Dwayne Wade. When it comes to the great Carmelo Anthony, the word that comes to mind is unstoppable. Stay connected.
Stay vigilant.
But more importantly,
stay mellow.
Things that you shouldn't see as a kid, as growing up. Drugs to murders to prostitution to get my mom out that environment. So that was my why. I knew that if I go back to that, there's no hope.
2024 Paris Olympics, you're ultimately passing the torch down. How did that feel standing there and seeing that next generation?
I never looked at it that way.
Okay.
But that was very interesting that you just said that.
Welcome to Chew the Fat. In this series, I sit down with high-performance guests and we talk about life, business, and what it takes to be at the top. This is part of my mission to raise $1 million for charity by writing a cookbook called Eat with Purpose. But I'm going to need your help. If you can share the content and leave a review, it's going to make a massive impact. And the bigger the audience, the greater the reach, and the sooner we can get to that $1 million goal. Enjoy the episode. Carmelo Anthony.
Yes.
Melo, welcome to Chew the Fat.
Thank you.
Mate, where I'd love to start for the audience today, every high performer has a context, a background, something that's made the person that is today. What's that for you?
For me, I would say my just upbringing, growing up, that was like tough, difficult. Things that you shouldn't see as a kid, as growing up. Anywhere from drugs to murders to prostitution to that, whatever it was.
What age are we talking?
And then you had church, and then you had school, and so all of this is part of these kind of 4 blocks.
What do you think that did to you as a person?
It could have hurt me as a person. I mean, when you really look back at it, like you. It's most of the things that you've learned, that I've learned, and growing up with, and the morals and what to do and what not to do, is a testament to what I was dealing with growing up. So some of those negative things that I had to adapt to, without you knowing, you automatically take that with you as you go through life until you address that at that point.
And like, what particular about that do you think started to burn a fire inside you that you become like the high performer you are?
Well, again, it's everybody why is different. Like my why was to get from my environment, get out of my environment, get my mom out that environment. So that was my why, and that was the reason why I was so, like, the fire was lit. Like I had to keep that fire lit, because I knew that if I go back to that, there's no hope.
And something you just touched on there about getting your mum out of that environment, like, bring me to that moment where, we're years ahead now in your career,
yeah, of course.
But I can only imagine the special moment that would have been when you're eye to eye with your mum, and it's that time where you can get her out of the environment. Like, bring me to that moment.
Well, I mean, just to give you context on that environment, it was, you talking about living in the projects of, it's 6 floors, 5 units on each floor. Some buildings was 14 floors, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 units on the floor. You don't know who you know who you're living next to, right? You're living next to, your neighbor may be a pastor, right? The person above you may be a murderer. The next person down the hall may be something else. Like, you just don't know. Well, you know who you're around, but you don't know who you're actually around. So those environments is if you don't have the right guidance, if you don't have the right people around you, you would become a product of that environment. And the fact that I had a strong mom and like single mom at that point in time, like she instilled some morals and foundation when it came to just growing up and understanding what we had to deal with.
Incredible. And one of the things that I see with a lot of high performers is almost like this dilemma. Once we have that fire inside us and we're chasing for that goal, and you have an incredibly strong why, the dilemma can be the cost and the sacrifice for the winning. What did that look like for you? What was the sacrifice, and how important was winning for you?
So winning come in different ways. Like, of course, winning is the highest score at the end of the game, right? That's win. We all want to win. Nobody wants to lose. Just leave it at that. When it comes to how you go about winning, for me, that's a win within the win, right? So even if you lose, that's still a win because you trust in the process. You going through it. You are putting in all the time and the work. So for me, I had to really say, you know what? I got to sacrifice my time. I got to sacrifice my body. I got to sacrifice my mind. You got to sacrifice family. You got to sacrifice friends, business. Like, that's the ultimate sacrifice when you really lock in to your craft and locked into being great to try to win. Like, it's the ultimate sacrifice.
And on reflection, when you think about that, was that cost worth it?
1,000%. It definitely was worth it. I'm here, played almost 2 decades in the NBA, right? So the sacrifice was definitely worth it. I mean, it was challenging at times. Did I want to do it all the time? No. But it was definitely challenging. But I always understand the assignment, and it is what it is. Win, lose, or draw, it is what it is. If we win, we win. We lose, we lose. I'm going to be upset. But the fact of the matter that you can learn from those wins and losses is what drove me and what kept me going.
It's so interesting as you talk, right? Like, the reason I love to sit down with a person like yourself and hear from the sports world is because the parallels between sports and business
1,000%
are just so tightly connected.
1,000%.
And as we shift through this conversation a little bit later, like, I really want to get down to that business side, but of course, I'm sitting here with Melo. It'd be crazy for me not to ask a little bit about NBA, right? So one of the things I want to ask you is, like, if you boil down in your mind to a single moment your NBA career, what's the first thing that pops into your mind?
The single moment? Well, the single moment, it will be the first where it started, which is the draft. I think that's the single moment that we focus on because in that moment, life changes. Like, it instantly. There's no like, oh, your life is going to change 2 months from now. No, your life changes the minute that with the third pick of the 2003 NBA draft.
Yes.
Carmelo Anthony. Like, the minute I walked on that stage and put that hat on, my life changed.
And help me for the audience, right? Like, we have a lot of people here listening in Australia. The reality is your upbringing is very unique. It's very unique to the people here listening to this audience. What does life change, like, in that moment to the next day you're wearing that hat? Like, share with me what that looks like.
So life change in that sense is, okay, the day before or just a couple weeks prior to that, I was on a college campus playing college basketball, playing in the national championship, going to class, no responsibility. Like, the minute that you walk on that stage, you're a pro. You're a professional. So you don't have that leeway anymore. You're supposed to know how to do this and how to do that and how to speak and how to dress and how to conduct yourself. You're supposed to know that because you are a pro now. And there's no room for wiggle when it comes to mistakes, when it comes to finding your path, when it comes to finding your own journey, because you are a pro. And professional means you're a professional at that craft. So act like it. So that, for me, that's what changed. I mean, responsibility, right? You become the head of the household overnight. You become the breadwinner overnight of the family. You got to answer all the questions now for the family, where just a couple months ago, prior to that, you didn't even want to bring the question up to me. And now I got to be able to answer it. I got to be able to answer the question and execute that answer. That's the change that I'm talking about. And on top of everything else, on top of game and, I developing as you're still a teenager. So.
Man, I love that. You just brought a huge smile to my face. That idea of that dinner table not getting asked the question to having to have all the answers. It's epic. Yeah, it's perfect when I think about that from a pro standpoint. And one of the things I saw when I was looking into your career was a quote, and it was from LeBron and Dwayne Wade. And what they said is the following, and I want to read it out to you and really just get inside your mind, like, what does it feel like when you hear it? When it comes to the great Carmelo Anthony, the word that comes to mind is unstoppable. But we also know what Melo means to the culture and to the world. Stay connected, stay vigilant, but more importantly, stay mellow.
Somebody on their team wrote that. Somebody on their team wrote that. But if they really said that, that is honorable right there. I think when you can hear that you can hear it from somebody else that you don't even know. And that's special because they don't know you. So for them to say that is like, okay, that's special. But to hear it from people that you know and been around and understand who you are, hearing that makes me believe that they understand who I am, right? So it gives you the confidence to continue to go out there and continue to be that unstoppable force and whatever you do, right? And finding your own path and walking your path and understanding, again, who you are. It comes down to that. I think all of that is just being said that Melo knows who he is. And that part of it is unstoppable. Yeah, the court too, but that part of it is unstoppable when you know who you are. When you know oneself, that's unstoppable.
I love that. And it's interesting, like in my notes, I was like, from there, I'm going to something else. But something's just popped into my mind, which I think is more important. There's a lot of weight when it comes to like your NBA career, having people like LeBron and Dwayne say this. And so as you shift from that into business, I imagine, was there ever a feeling like that imposter syndrome? You've climbed the highest of high mountains. You were an unstoppable force from NBA. Now, how do you translate that into business?
Yeah, so you take certain aspects of that to the business. You don't automatically say, because I'm great at this, I'm going to be great in this field. Like that, you have to work the same amount of work that I put in to be who I am in this field. I still have to do that same work on the business side of everything too. Because if you don't, it ain't gonna work.
Hey guys, I'm trying out a new ad. It's ASMR. I hope you like it. The Chew the Fat podcast is brought to you by the Eat with Purpose cookbook. It's out now. Do you want to get ripped, eat healthy, and get love with the ladies? Well, it's not the book for you because it's my mission to raise $1 million for children's cancer. Now let's get back to the show.
Because I had proof of concept already, which is my NBA career, which is my basketball career. So that I've proven that concept works. Now I got to prove that the same concept work over here in regards to time and effort and learning and understanding what I'm trying to do and what I'm trying to accomplish. All of that takes time. So I'm never in a rush to get through it. It's I take it day to day. Take it day to day. I listen, I talk, I speak, I remain who I am. I treat everybody the same way. I treat everybody with the utmost respect. And also I understand what I'm doing, right? And that's the key. A lot of people don't understand what they're doing. Or a lot of people don't understand what they want to do. So the fact that I can say I know what I want to do, I understand what I have to do, and this is how I'm going to get it done, that makes it easy.
And what was it about business that drew you in, right? Like there's so many different journeys that the highest of the highest athletes can go on.
Yeah.
And yours is business. And we were talking offline, which I definitely want to get into because it's very interesting around the businesses that you chose. What was it that drew you in the first place?
In business?
Yeah.
Business is business. Like it's not what drew me. Like everything that I do is a part of business, right? So it's not like I can avoid it. Like, oh, I'm not just gonna not be a businessman. Like, no. If anything that you do outside of your norm, it's business. Like, basketball was business.
Yeah. Okay.
Right. I was a part of a business, and I've helped a business build.
Yes.
Right, so now taking that mentality, it's like I've helped this build without even knowing.
Yes. Yes.
Right, so now when I started to know that I helped build this business, I have another proof of concept. Now I know I can do this. Right, but I also understood that I wasn't never a corporate guy. Like, meaning like I wasn't an office guy. I wasn't a punch in and punch out guy. Like, that's not what I wanted to do in business. So therefore I wanted to create and build my own things and things that I love to do and make that my business. I don't have to do it. You know what I mean? Like, I love to do it. I don't have to do a lot of the things that I do, but I love it. And it's because I'm very strategic and intentional on the things that I do. And everything that I do is predicated on my life and everything that I need in my life. Right, so it works. It's not work to me. It's work.
Yeah.
But it's not work to me because it's a part of my everyday lifestyle, and I'm just tapping into expanding those things that's within my lifestyle.
You've mentioned this word intentional, and I've heard it come up on other interviews before, like the intentionality. What does that look like from a business standpoint? So I kind of want to get contextual here. Is that around, hey, this is the empire I'm trying to build, so therefore these are the different pillars and I'm thinking about them intentionally? Or what is it specifically when you think about that intentionality?
Well, you can have intentions. Like I've had intentions to do this business and build this and do that. I've had intentions. But if you're not intentional on building those businesses, then the intentions is nothing. It doesn't even matter because you're not intentional on seeing that plan out and strategizing and building that. So my intentions, I can always have good intentions. That doesn't mean that I'm intentional. And then I find that the same way in business. Like, I have good intentions when I want to do this, but if I'm not intentional on taking that. And that property or whatever it may be and building around that and making sure that we have a strategy for it and we're scaling this and how does this look and how does this work with the overall plan, that I'm not intentional.
I like that. And like, to me, it's really clear, right? You've built an incredible brand as a person. You're so well known across the globe. So I can only imagine you would just be inundated with opportunities, right? Everybody has the right intentions and they want to give you, they want you to see you do these opportunities. How does someone at your level prioritize? Because the reality is, like, speaking on your behalf, time would be surely one of your most finite assets.
Yes.
And so how does Melo decide this is where my time's going to go to make an impact?
Well, again, it's about being intentional. It's I'm very intentional. My team is very intentional on, like, what we gonna do. Like, we sit down and we actually communicate and we strategize and we pitch and we throw things out there. No, that don't fit. That don't, like, it's. But that was at the beginning of, like, really trying to figure out what to be intentional on.
Yes.
And not take on everything. Because early on it was just, oh yeah, that sounds cool. Okay, oh shit, I get some money right here. Oh, yeah. So this is cool. But now it gotten to the point where, like, we're gonna be intentional about building a house. Like, let's really take our time and build this house, because once the house is done, built, we can sleep peaceful. and for me, that's what keeps me going. So the intentionality in building a business, understanding the business, understanding the ecosystem, understanding the landscape, understanding the demands and the asking and what people want, what they don't want, but also being able to kind of throw your own little flair into that to make that work. So it goes back to me saying, I don't do things that I don't love to do. Because if I don't love to do it, I'm not going to put my all into do it. It'll just be, fly by night. I'll work on this today. I'll get back to it next week. Yeah. But if I'm intentional, I love it, and it's gonna get done.
It's really interesting as you say that, and because it's so clear, right? Like where we started here is like, I don't have to do these things. I don't have to.
Yeah.
You know, there's a roof over your head. You're well fed. You got a smile on your face. So the love for it has to be at the forefront, because like the potential rounding changes it does into your bank account, that's probably not going to be enough to fuel the fire. I'm
just relentless. Like I'm relentless when it comes to creativity. And I just know me. I know my personnel. Like I know me as an individual. I can't sit around. Like I get bored. Yeah. Like I don't want to get bored. Like I had basketball for 30 years. Right? So whenever I got bored, I went to the gym. I went outside to the court. If I get bored now, you gonna start indulging into other vices that is gonna take you down a path that you don't want it to go down. So you have to be. Me personally, I have to understand. Stay busy, and it's not about just stay busy. Like make it work. Yeah. Like don't just stay busy. Everybody can say that they're busy, but like make it make sense. Connect the dots, and now let's get busy.
Yes. I resonate a lot with that because, before we were talking, myself and my two brothers, we built a business over 12 years. We sold it 2 years ago.
Congratulations, by the way. It's hard to do. It's build a business and sell it. It's very hard to do.
It's fun. But it's
fun when you sell it.
Yeah, but it's hard. And the reason I share that is because, I've been kind of having the joke and laugh recently, like I'm retired, but like, I finished up with the company I was with 5 weeks ago, and I'm like, there's just zero chance that, I'm 32, there's zero chance that you can just sit there. Because like you said, like if you don't have a purpose and a focus, and I can only talk from a man's perspective because I am one. As a man, if I don't have that, that's where things
if you don't have the
tricky.
Purpose, well, for one, to sell your business at 32 years old, right, is a major, major accomplishment.
Thank you.
Major. So congratulations to that. The flip side of that, you could get bored. You built this. This is what you put your time and effort in, you and your brother. Like this is you sleepless nights and, it's all of that. Employees, work, customers, everything. And I don't know the business, but I'm just saying overall.
Yeah. We had 400 employees. So I've gone from 400 to my main boy Kai over there.
See,
Shout
this
out.
is what I'm saying. Less is more, right? So
intentional.
Intentional. Because of that.
Yeah.
You can get bored in the sense of like, damn, what am I going to do? I can be complacent now. I can just be going with the flow now. But because you have the energy and you have the experience of creating a business and scaling it and selling it, that itch. Right? So you might be good now, but that itch is going to start to come back because you're just like, I've done it already before. I've done it. I've sold my business. I've built it. I created it, an idea that I, saw through fruition. And now I'm here, right? So now what's next? Like you start thinking about what's next for you.
I already have, and I'll share with you a text message I had with my brother this morning. So me and my two...
See, you got bored.
Yeah. That's why I say I jokingly talk about retiring because we're already onto the next. Me and my brothers, we're I would call us freaks, right? Because we just love business. We're
freaks? Business freaks.
No freaks as in we're weird.
No, business freaks.
I'll happily just call myself weird, right? Like our context is my dad was frauded in his business in South Africa, went bankrupt, and so our context is around the dinner table. We lived in a caravan for a period of time, me and my three brothers. Our context is we sit at a dinner table and my dad would talk about money because we didn't have much of it, right? And so we just commercially minded from that moment. So the whole point of the story is all we do is talk about business. And so
Yeah.
I get a text from my brother today. He sends me, my eldest brother, he's working on a new product called Clipflow. It's like for YouTubers. And he sends me, here are the new users that logged in today. And I said to him, if you could package the feeling of an entrepreneur launching a product, getting product market fit, and then seeing the users, I said, if you could package that up, we'd be billionaires, because
Yeah,
the
that's a
feeling is incredible,
Yes.
right? Like, and that's the thing I think a lot of people don't realize about business is like the camaraderie and the experience and the feeling. It's once you have enough money, that's equally as important, if not more important, that process.
Absolutely. The process of building is what keeps me going. Even though sometimes I just know like this is going to take a lot.
Yeah.
But the process of building and being creative and going through it and understanding and learning the business or learning that particular industry, like for me, that keeps me going. Because it always going to give me something. Like I'm always a sucker for information. Like I love information. I love to read. I love to research. I love to do my own research. So starting and creating businesses and starting a certain business, that gives me opportunity to go deep dive into what that industry is. And now I can really figure out what is my niche in that industry. Because some industries causes you to come in with a bigger, with a bigger aura, right? Some industries causes you to come in with just underground and just small and just, right? But for me, it's like I had to go from trying to take grand slams all the time and home runs to like, nah, we gonna get on base sometimes. Like we gonna, you know what I mean? Like we gonna get on base. Like we gonna take these singles and these doubles and, even if we don't hit a home run, eventually those numbers add up. Those singles and those doubles add up. Those stolen bases, those bunts, like everything is a part of the game.
Yeah.
Right? So they all add up. And when they add up, now you can sit back and like, man, you know what? Even when I ain't want to slide into first, we did it. Right?
Like as you share that, I start thinking about we were talking about the VC that you started, a venture capital fund. Incredibly unique. I don't think I've ever heard of an athlete starting that. Can you bring me to like the specifics on how you thought about starting a venture fund and what were the industries that like drew you in for that?
So there was a tech boom in America.
I remember it.
Yeah, of course you do. Of course you do. And for so long, the aura around the athlete was just to shut up and dribble, right? Just do what you do. Don't go into no other industry. And the power of the athlete, the empowerment of the athlete started to shift. I would say probably 2010, 11. That's when the athletes started to the conversation started. Oh, you guys are powerful. Oh, you guys, you guys have
billions of dollars.
But it's like that was a time where I call that the athlete empowerment, era, because athletes was talking and identifying causes and understanding what was happening in our country and in our state and in our own backyard. So that was a moment where the athlete became empowered. So when you talk about the ESPYs,
Yes,
and that speech, that was right. That was like the speech came from that moment of 2010 and 11 and the athlete empowerment moving forward. At the time of the speech, it was just the lid came off, right? So that's how the ESPYs came. But back to the business. People looked at me like I was crazy. Like, Melo, why are you getting into tech? What is tech? Like, what is technology? What you want to do? What's wearable tech? So I started I just did it. Like, I wanted to get into it. And me and my partner, Stuart Goldfarb, we was just kind of like identifying, these companies and early stage startups. But it was more for me to learn the industry.
Yes.
So the early stage startups was more for me to go talk to the founder, spend some time with the creator and the team and the founders, understand what's their vision, see the business plan, see the exit, like, you know, all of that stuff. Like, so that was fun for me.
Yeah, right. That's a super interesting take. Are you eating right now? Do you want to eat better? Chew the Fat podcast is brought to you by the Eat with Purpose cookbook. It's available now, and it's part of my mission to raise $1 million for children's cancer. Get it from eatwithpurpose.net, and I want you to let me know when you're snacking, because you be snacking good. Let's get back to the show.
Being able to go to an office and sit down with the founder of this company and talk to him direct and him understand, like, oh, wow, this is not just, no, we don't want you to shut up and dribble.
Yeah.
We actually want you. We actually want to hear the shit that you have to say. And from that point on, we just, small businesses, early stage, we just invest our own money into it. And they were like, we might as well make this a real business. And that's how it started.
Fuck, it's so cool. You know what I love is as I'm watching you talk about this, every time we get into these business in these moments, I just see the smile start to grow on your face.
Yeah.
Like it's like it's real, you know, like I can see the enthusiasm as you start to talk about, you know, talking to these founders and stuff. I can see you've got the bug.
Cause I enjoy that.
Yeah.
Like I like to consider myself a owner and founder like of some of my companies. So I understand that to a certain extent what it takes to, especially for entrepreneurs, to go and have product and have something that you're trying to create, that you have a vision for, and you're trying to sell it and you're trying to pitch it. Like, I understand that. So I'm very sympathetic to companies and founders that is in early stage.
Yeah.
Because it's you're basically investing in the founder. You're not investing in the actual,
For sure.
whatever that business is.
Yeah.
Do I like this guy or this lady? And do I like the concept? What is the exit? What is your 5-year plan? Like, yes, those questions are always supposed to be asked, but I try to stay away from those questions.
Yeah.
What is your exit? What is your 5-year plan? Some conversations, you're supposed to ask that.
Yeah.
You should ask that. Some businesses.
Well, asking that is kind of like, to your point, you're asking the question because you're trying to see how that founder reacts to the question.
Yes.
Right? Like, because if you're like, I'm looking for the right person, and you ask a question like, what's your 5-year plan? Like, oh, Melo, don't worry about it, bro. You're like, okay.
Yeah, no, I don't want that answer either. I want you to give me the 5-year plan. I want you to give me the exit strategy.
I want to see it in
that
your eyes.
That doesn't mean that we're not going to continue to build this. Even if it's past 5 years, then I might look at you a little different because you already told me that this is a 5-year strategy. So in 5 years, I'm going to be looking for to see where you actually at. And then now we can reevaluate that. But I'd rather just, listen, I'm trying to sell this company in 3 years. Like, be honest with me, right? I'd rather you be honest with me. And I think some companies and some owners, founders, they understand that about me. And just be honest with me, bro. You want to get out of here in 5 years. I want to sell my business in 5 years. I don't want to do this for too much longer. I just want to get a quick flip. Like, just let me know what it is so I can know how to navigate and help you with that.
I have to share this story, and I hope you'll like it. The other day, I'm sitting down with I probably shouldn't name them, so I won't. They're one of the largest active venture capital funds globally. And we were talking about this concept of how they pick a founder. They're invested in 170,000 ventures across the world, right? And so his thing is it's all about, he was trying to see if there's data points. Can I see if there's a qualitative or quantitative data point to pick the right founders? And he goes, the reality is it there isn't. And often it's something that stands out and you're like, okay, this person's unique. And he gave me an example. So they're at this meetup and there's like 400 founders in the room. And this person walks over to him with a laptop and he goes, sorry, can I have 5 minutes of your time? Knowing he's quite senior in the business. He goes, I've gone through everybody's LinkedIn and done a history check on the people. I've stack ranked who the people are and how much of my time I'd be willing to give them by minute increments. And the guy goes, that is the weirdest thing I've ever heard. I want to invest in you.
Yeah.
And that's one of the most successful businesses. He goes, if you're thinking things that detailed.
Yeah. and early too.
Yeah.
Early.
He hadn't even had an idea yet. He's just trying to see how he should give away his minutes of the night based on who is worth his time.
Yeah. So that goes to show me that you are very intentional on research. You're very intentional on understanding every nook and cranny of what this is. and you're willing to do the work.
Yes.
Like to me, that X everything else,
Yeah.
you're willing to do the work.
That's right.
And that's what I take from that story. The fact that you're willing to do the work, the fact that you did all of this,
Yeah.
the fact that you were very like, this guy right here gets 2.5 minutes of my time. Like, I need you to come. You need to be over here with me. I need that type of structure.
Yeah. Last question on the business piece before we move is, like, what do you think the biggest asset that you bring to the ventures that you work with? And I'm sure it's shifted and changed from the early days to now. But like, what's the thing that you like? Where's the Melo magic that gets applied to the businesses?
I think just having a wherewithal of the actual business, understanding the landscape of that business, understanding who's supporting that business and then who's not supporting that business and why. I think I bring you an amount of cultural relevance to that company. Most importantly, I think I bring perspective, right? And when you're able to have a certain perspective, you're able to allow people to shift how they think.
I want to drill into that. I'm really curious. You probably saw my eyes. What do you mean? So like, let's pretend a founder's listening today. They're building their business. Hey, Melo, what's this perspective I need, and like, what is it that you're providing?
It depends on the business.
Yeah.
It depends on the actual lane and genre like that you're in. Like, what sector of tech that you're in. Again, I don't know everything. Like I'm still learning, so I want you to understand that. Hey, here's what I'm bringing to you. I'm bringing this perspective. I'm not just bringing, the money. Like I'm bringing brains too. I'm bringing perspective. I'm bringing my own IP. Like I'm bringing my own intellectual property, which is me. So that on top of everything else, and also somebody that you can communicate with and like really have a real conversation about the business and how you things that you see, because a lot of times those founders and those of those companies and those CEOs of those companies, you focus on the company guidelines and what that company so you rarely hear perspective outside of the company guidelines.
Yes.
Right. So if I'm able to understand your company, but also bring you a perspective outside of the company guidelines, to where you probably would have never thought about how to shift and how to show up in this marketplace, or how to show up with to this age group, you probably never thought about that because you have to abide by these company guidelines. That's good. And I think that's what is my strong suit with these companies.
That's so like playing that back, and I think it's a really interesting point for people. When you're in a business and you're doing the day-to-day, you're the founder, you're grinding, sometimes your line of sight can be really narrow. Like you're focused on really, often it's like the burning platforms, the things that are the problems and all of this. And even just having a person, let's say someone doesn't have access to Melo, it's like having someone who can take an objective view and help you see things that you just can't see. Yeah. I have a recent example of this where I sat down with a business, kind of like advisory, helping out. And within about 30 minutes, I identified for them that 78% of their total revenue was coming from one customer. And I was like, holy fuck. we have a problem. And like the reality is, like, when they're looking at really narrowly at like, oh, how do we do this? And how do we venture
bottom line?
And I'm like, no. How do we, this isn't a business. We're just helping this one business. We got to act. So I think it's a super important point of perspective.
It is, man. It's and also the founders have to be willing to, that's another thing. Like you have to be willing to understand what you don't know. And like be willing to allow certain things to help you out, or certain voices to have an opinion on a perspective. Certain voices have a perspective on what you have going on. And I think that's how you build the relationships with these founders and creatives. It's like, let me know what you have. I want to hear what you have going. I want to, let me know so we can actually, if I'm constantly, we playing devil's advocate back and forth, like we ping pong, and then I'm going to learn you. You're going to learn my perspective too. And now let's see how we can take what you have and expand on that.
Love that. Is there any common themes that you're seeing from your VC or from the private equity piece? Common themes from founders that are making them successful, or in reverse of that, the ones that are making them not successful?
I don't think there's a common theme anymore.
Okay.
I don't think there's a common thing. Like before, you knew like, okay, Apple is this, Nike is this, Pepsi is this. Like you knew, Google is the, the companies is no matter what. So it's the ones that really is trying to find out their way into the industry, or how they're going to set their feet or set their tone and plant their feet into the certain industries. Those are the ones that like I like to talk to, right? Because you're being disruptive. I want you to I want to support people that's being disruptive. You're smart, and you're being disruptive, right? And you have something that's going to be disruptive. I don't mind talking to people like that because I love being disruptive. So now if you're telling me, hey, I want to be disruptive in the literature industry. Well, let's go be disruptive in the literature industry. Let's go write these books. Let's go talk. Let's write, but let's do it in a way that makes sense so that we can get the followers and the consumers and not just have one customer at 78% of the revenue. Like, let's bust that 78% of the revenue down horizontally, as opposed to just sticking with identifying one person who is 78% of my bottom line. That's crazy.
Wild.
You might as well just build a company around that person.
Yeah, that's
You
right.
might as well just make that person a part of the company at that point.
So shifting a little bit, what's the most important thing that you want to instill in your kids? Given there's no two ways about it. The way in which you grew up that created the Melo that sits here today is fundamentally different to the way in which your kids are growing up.
Absolutely.
What's the thing that you really want to instill in them?
I want them to have the freedom of being them and discovering who they are. Naturally, who I am is going to be a part of you. So accept that. Just embrace that. Don't fight that. Whereas most people will tell you to fight that. Oh, don't be like your dad. Oh, be better than your dad. Oh, don't follow your dad's path. No. Why would you not? Why would you not do that? It's proven. You have a proof of concept. At every level, you can look at that and say, okay, this is how it was done to get this. This is how it was done to do this. This is how it was done to do that. At every level. So why wouldn't you want to follow that, right? If you want to go against it, then you don't follow that.
Yeah.
Like, if you don't follow it, you show me that you really want to just go left. So at that point, I have to meet you there as my kids. Because I can't force you to, I can't bring you back. We watch too many movies and too many TV shows where the family is trying to force the kid to take over the company or to do what the dad do or to follow the family, and you see what happens. It's turmoil. So we learn from that. Even though it's movies and TV shows, it's still reality because those things are very relevant. And so, my kids my son is 17, my daughter's 7. So it's different conversations that we actually having. But my son is just more like you're the evolution of me. So don't fight that, build on that, right? So you evolve this brand, you evolve this name, you evolve, what we established already, and now you take your spin and your swag and and you do it your way, but we ain't gonna break the floor just to rebuild another floor. Like when the floor is not, it doesn't need to be drilled and broken. So it's a different conversation with my son and my daughter.
That's awesome. That's so good. Couple last things before I finish up. I'm sure I'm getting close to time.
Eight heads shook their head.
Yeah. Two more questions, if I may be so gluttonous, everybody. Thank you. This year, right, 2024 Paris Olympics was like monumental year for you. You're ultimately passing the torch down.
Yeah.
Like, how did that feel standing there and seeing that next generation to really take it from here?
I never looked at it that way.
Okay.
But that was very interesting that you just said that. I've never looked at it like that was the passing of a torch. Cliche-ish, though, in a sense. But that's interesting because it really, now that you said that, I look back at it like that was my first time giving back to Team USA, right? So that really was my way of like saying thank you, right? And paying homage to the guys that's out there playing now, right? But also understanding the assignment. The assignment is this is my time to support. This is not my time to go play. I'm not playing no more. I'm supporting as a fan. I'm supporting as a brother. This is my time. And this is my way I'm going to show you guys my appreciation by being a fan. And that's really what that is. So I'm glad you brought that up because see, perspective.
I love that.
Perspective.
It's one of the most challenging parts about interviewing someone else like yourself. It's like, you got to do something unique. So I'm glad.
Nah, you just gave me a whole nother perspective. Like, yeah,
I love
perspective.
So my last question for you, Melo, is what's the impact that you want to make on the surf world? Like, how do you want to be remembered?
So the impact on the world, I can't bite off more than I can chew. I would say that. Yes, there's so many issues and so many things and so much product and so many companies and so much excitement around the world globally. If I try to bite off more than I can chew and try to start, I want to help this and I want to take care of this and no, you're going to get overwhelmed. And a lot of times you're not going to accomplish what you set out to accomplish with that. So for me, I just continue to just kind of stay in my lane and own my lane and almost in basketball terms, like play my position. And like, sometimes playing your position means you got to step out and do something else that's in other positions. But I'm going to play my position, and because I know I'm going to give you my all in this position, in this position right here, because my focus, intentionality, I'm intentional on going this path and helping these people, and because I can't help everybody. Like, everybody needs help. We all need help, but I can't help everybody. So I'd rather impact the people as I go along, and not just focus on just one set group of people or one area in the world or one area in America. Like, the fact that I can do things in America, in multiple states in America, and then kind of bring that same flow to Australia and bring that same flow to China and bring that same flow to Europe. It's like now I'm making an impact, right? Because now we globalizing this impact, and that makes more sense to me. Being able to have those conversations and talk to Australia and the U.S. about how we can work together, right? And when it comes to growing the game of basketball in a sense, right? Which may open up business, which may open up new entrepreneurs. It opened up so many different avenues, right? And how do I connect those dots globally? So you'll hear a lot. I talk about globalization of just basketball and business and things like that. I think that's what I'm here for.
Melo, incredible. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.